Did you know that women are dying because of AI? I'm not surprised, but I had no idea that AI is getting us dead. Y'all, if AI wasn't already, first of all, look it up. Maybe I'll do a video on it. It is so harmful to the environment. It is sucking so much more resources. For what? So it can take artists and writers' jobs? It's like all the journalists I know are getting fired from publications. It is why the algorithm is favoring men's content. It is not doing anything good. I just want it to do my laundry and make things like taxes and stuff easier, but no. It is trying to write the movies and the books. It's doing all the creative fun stuff and not doing any of the hard stuff, but it is also literally getting women killed. Why? Because men write it, first of all, but also, did nobody see Terminator 2? Did Terminator 2 not scare the crap out of you? It scared me. I thought we had decided a long time ago we shouldn't have robot dogs that work for the police, and we shouldn't have robot people, and we shouldn't have robots literally doing anything for the police. AI, robots, whatever. We shouldn't have robots doing anything because who writes the robots? Men, white men. Look at this. Look at this. Actually, before we get into it, please follow my Patreon. I have a live on Sunday with Daniela, who wrote this amazing book. And we're gonna talk all about that. I also do personal stories over there. I got a bunch of lives lined up. Cecilia Regina, do you know her? I'm doing her live with her in August. So much cool stuff happening. Please also just sign up because you'll never see my work if you don't. Because the AI, the algorithm is written by men. That's why you forget I exist unless you go to my page or you are lucky enough for whatever. You get the point. Okay, the link is in my comment. Look at this New York Times article that just came out. This is not just about Spain, actually. So we're gonna get into it. This is terrifying. But I know it's hard to watch my content sometimes. Yesterday's and all this drowning stuff lately and whatever. I try to find hope in everything I do, or at least a teachable moment, or knowledge is power. I didn't know they were doing this. Now that I know, I'm mad and I'm upset. But now that I know they're doing this, I'm absolutely against this. And I'm going to talk about it. And we should all be talking about it because I don't want robots protecting us from men because robots are written by men. Sorry about that. Robots don't understand domestic violence, and they certainly don't understand women because men don't understand women because they choose not to, by the way. Look at this. It starts off with a story of this woman who went to the police and abused. This is happening in Spain, but literally this is actually happening everywhere. It's just this is a case study on Spain. It's not used on a national level like this for DV everywhere, but they're using it for other things, and they are going to do this in the US, I promise you. It's only a matter of time. So, her husband smashed a wooden shoe rack and used one of the broken pieces to beat her. Her neighbors could hear her screaming. They have 4 children between 6 and 12. And she's been with him this is just opening the story. Just to set the scene of how crazy the AI is working. The police are so lazy and stupid to literally trust AI. So I don't want and I'll get to this later, I don't want the police are already terrible with DV as it is because almost half of them are abusers themselves. How much you want to bet the people writing AI are also abusers? They may have they may have some bias or, I don't know, enabling or indifference or something else. So for 10 years, he's pretty regularly kicked her, told her, she told the police he'd also call her this, and this. And so before she left the station that night, the police had determined if she was in danger of being attacked and needed support. So he clicked through 35 questions, yes and no questions. If it's a yes and no question, that right there tells me there's a problem. This conversation around DV is so nuanced, but okay, I'm gonna get into this more in a minute. 35 little questions. Sorry, I just realized it might be helpful if you have a therapy dog to look at sleeping while we go over this. So questions like, where's their weapon used? Well, yeah, you might call a shoe rack broken up into pieces a weapon, but that was probably answered no. Has he showed controlling behaviors? Blah, blah, blah. Then they beep, 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 typed in an algorithm into VOJAN or whatever it's called. It's pronounced different in Spanish, I forget. produced a score. Can you imagine a score determining whether or not you deserve protection so you don't die? Low risk. Yep, AI is great at its job. Okay. So she was sent home with no further protection. And her husband had been in prison that night, and he was released the next day. 7 weeks later, he fatally stabbed her several times in the chest and abdomen before taking his own life, of course, because he's a coward. She's lucky he didn't take the kids out too. She was 32. Look at this. Look at this woman. How happy she is. Light is gone. Then it goes into this, basically uses that as a story to get into something better. So Spain has been dependent on algorithms to combat gender violence. Great idea. Whose idea was that? A man, maybe? Capitalism? Being like, I know, pay me to figure it out. There's no stakes. So this software is so woven into law enforcement that it's hard to know where its recommendations end and human decision making begin. At best, it's helping blah, 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 BS. But the reliance on it has resulted in victims whose risk levels are miscalculating getting attacked again, sometimes leading to fatal consequences. Spain has now 92,000 active cases of gender violence victims who are evaluated by this dumb thing, with most of them, 83%, classified as facing little risk. Just a little bit of risk. Don't worry about it. Go home. Go home. He won't hurt you. Little risk of being hurt by their abuser. Like, who wrote this? I'm sorry, but once an abuser, always an abuser. What do you mean? Can you imagine? By the time they go to the police, it's bad. 83% of them, they're like, you're at low risk of it ever happening again. I mean, I could tell you right there that they are all in danger. They don't just stop. It escalates. Who wrote this? Like, I want names. Like, who wrote this? Those people should be held accountable for this. These tech bros. Some tech bro in Silicon Valley write this? Who wrote this? Can you imagine 83% of domestic violence cases? 83% of 92,000, they're like, you're at low risk of him ever doing it again. What? Roughly 8% of women who the algorithm found to be at negligible risk and 14% at low risk. Like, what is the difference between those? Little, negligible, and low? They all sound like, we don't care. This is according to Spain's Interior Ministry that oversees the program. Most likely a man, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly. At least 247 women have been unalived by their current or former partners since 2007 after being assessed by this dumb thing, according to government figures. Remember, this is all just women who reported, right? This is telling what the real statistics of DV are, but this is just the women who are going and trying to get help from the police, and then they're like, tap, 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 35 questions, yes, no, okay, you're good, go home. New York Times found that, so, you know, as much as I hate the Times sometimes and their coverage of genocide and lots of other things, and sometimes the people they platform, they still do good reporting. This is really good reporting. I mean, or I've never heard of this, and they did a very deep dive. Look at this. They found that the review of 98 of those of homicides, 55 of the women slain were scored by this dumb act as negligible or low risk for repeat abuse. Like, again, to me, if they've done it once, they will do it again. You should assume they'll do it again, and it'll be worse. What? How could any system just determine that any, if not most of the people are like, you're good, it won't happen again? Does AI talk to the men? Look at this chart. Oh, these women are just, you know, being dramatic. It's only these that we maybe should worry about. The fact that they are at the police at all should make them probably high risk. The fact they are there at all should make them high risk. Women don't go to the police usually unless it's bad. And even when we do go, we usually tend to minimize it because we're scared of the police, especially in the U.S. I'll speak because I know the police more there. In the U.S., if you're a black woman going to the police, if you go at all, you face fear of your own life being taken, and definitely the fear of anyone you're reporting. Like, I've done a lot of videos on that. Like, the police are not safe for black women to report to in the U.S. and probably around the world in general. I know a lot of white women think that the police are your friend, but I promise you, they're not. They only usually really care about you if it is to justify racism. If you're in trouble, DV and all that other stuff, chances are they don't care about you either, unless somehow they get to do something they already wanted to do, like police brutality. Right? If racism involved and they get to justify being racist and use excessive force, then they might care about you, but they don't care about you. They don't care about you either. I told y'all I had to literally recant my statement when I told them about my boyfriend had raped me. I've told this story plenty of times, just a little recap. When I finally reported the rape, I then became a statistic of a liar because they told me they were going to go talk. I was like, he lives with me. Please don't go talk to him. I just literally want you to know what's happening because I'm about to move away. So I just want you to, so that the next woman that he does this to, she will maybe get justice or be protected by y'all. And they were like, you don't tell us what to do. We're going to go talk to him. And I was like, wait, no, please. And then, but basically I had to say, never mind. You're telling me that if I give you this information, you are going to do whatever you want, regardless of how much it puts me at risk. And they're like, yeah, you can't really tell us what to do. And I was like, okay, I lied, officer. Fork you very much. Bye. So anyway, I'm just saying, women already don't trust the police usually. But don't think that if you are a white woman, they care about you either. They don't. It's conditional. It's conditional care. Please question all these systems, especially the ones that are supposed to protect. They protect the way men protect us. Provider, protector, my butt. Provider of unpaid income, protector of themselves and other men. That is kind of what the police are in general. Anyway, breathe, Melanie. The reason why I went into all of that is because it is already bad enough that the police who are dealing with this, because they're so bad at it. And they are here to protect the state and mostly rich white men. But look at this. Spanish police are trained to override the dumb apps. I'm just going to call it the dumb app because I don't even want to pronounce this. I hate this thing. I don't even want to make it legitimate. This needs to be gone now. Ugh! So the dumb app's recommendation depending on the evidence, but accept the risk scores about 95% of the time. So even though they're trained to override whatever the thing says, I swear, men are such followers. They just take orders from other men, and AI is the other man. They're not leaders, they're followers, and they usually follow terrible leaders, like whoever wrote this. Judges can also use the results when considering requests for restraining orders and other protective measures. But as we'll see in a minute, they don't care. They still don't do it. So basically, they're allowed to veto or, override whatever the dumb app tells them to do. But they don't. Because that might require work and caring. They're just like, I trust these 35 questions to assess whether this woman should die. Women are falling through the cracks. Women have been criticizing this stuff, and they're like, whatever, you silly ladies, it works. It's not perfect. Stop being so dramatic. But as she points out, the algorithm kind of absolves the police of any responsibility of assessing the situation and what the victims may need. Et voila. I think they started this whole thing not to really combat gender violence, but to be like, cool, we won't be liable for all these women dying. We can just blame the app. We don't even have to pretend and lie about caring. We'll just blame the app and be like, well, we're just listening to the app. Spain exemplifies how governments, listen to this. Governments are turning to algorithms to make societal decisions, a global trend that is expected to grow with the rise of AI. In the United States, algorithms help determine prison sentences. Who does that affect mostly, you think? My God. See? This is what I mean. Okay, so we know the judicial system is unbelievably racist and it targets Black Americans most, right? But all people of color, Black, Indigenous, other people of color, but especially Black Americans, right? And that, the police was literally created as like a patrol, right? In the U.S., the history there's very good reason to always question this, what do you call it? Not an organization, whatever, entity. But now judges are like, I don't want to figure it out. Let's just use AI to make a decision that impacts families. That's a whole nother video. How much someone going to prison impacts the entire family. Who do you think is paying this price when AI makes a very bad judgment of how long someone should serve, and it's unfair? It's women. Women are always paying the price. To set police patrols and identify children at risk of abuse. How are they figuring this out? God, in the Netherlands, Britain, authorities have experimented with algorithms to predict who may become criminal, to identify people who may be committing welfare fraud. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, I forgot this part. Okay. So AI is not good. It is literally going to uphold patriarchy, white supremacy culture, capitalism, ableism, all the isms that, like, literally, can you imagine? Who do you think is writing all this? It is literally, okay, this is like welfare queen BS. Remember, that was created by Reagan, and literally that lie. That's what this is. Oh my God. They're literally getting AI to do what Reagan and Thatcher and all the rest of them were doing. I can't believe they made a movie about Reagan. What an insult. One of the worst presidents of all time, literally ruined the United States more than anybody else with all this crap. That's why they don't pay taxes. The rich people don't pay taxes because of that bro. And they're like, let's make an biopic about him. Let's humanize this awful person. Oh my God. Anyway, few of the programs have such life and death consequences. Okay, see now this right here, this is what some of your bias, whoever wrote this. You don't think this is life and death consequences? It may not be outright as violent, but violence, the way we think of it, burdening a family, poverty is violence. Poverty is violence. All this stuff, these programs, redlining is violence. All these racist and sexist, it may just be, the way that the courts will keep women impoverished when they're in DV and give, custody to that's violent. The man who's having her is violent, but this is violent. This is all violent. Like, the way we think about violence, the way we've been taught to think about this, especially as a white person, I didn't realize how many things were so violent that aren't outwardly violent, but they are so violent. And then usually, a lot of times, violence is a response to that, right? Which is what I talked about the other day, like, anti-terrorism or whatever. We're the terrorists. They use violence to protect themselves from what we've been doing, and then we're like, terrorists. That's what all this crap is. Anyway, I'm getting all worked up. Sorry, y'all. The victims interviewed by the Times rarely knew about the role of algorithm played in their cases. See? They're not even telling us, y'all. This is why this is important information. We need to talk about this more. I do not want a robot dog walking the streets, working for the police, and I don't want robots making decisions around that affect the most vulnerable people in the world to protect the wealthiest, whitest jerks in the world. The government also has not released comprehensive data about the system's effectiveness and has refused to make the algorithm available for outside audit. Oh, that right there should tell you everything. If they don't let people see it, what it is, then it's bad. What the? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? Why can't we look at it? Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm very passionate in this video. Look at this crap. The dumb app was created to be an unbiased tool. The fact that they thought it could be unbiased is crazy. This is my biggest criticism of AI and all of it, even the apps themselves. Who is writing this? Who's programming it? Just assume that men just like Elon are writing this crap. Oh, but it's supposed to be unbiased. Have you ever used Google Maps as a woman? I had it send me through a park, dark, in the middle of the night, alone on a bike. A man only wrote that. If women were writing Google Maps, they would never tell me to take a shortcut that actually doesn't save me any time, that sends me through a park at 10 o'clock at night with no lights by myself. They just assume it's a man anyway, you know what I mean? Like, literally, that's why all of these apps, including the one you're watching this on, probably, it's like men are writing all this stuff and they don't think, like the men who created Uber were like, oh, it never occurred to us that it might be dangerous for a man to know a woman's home address. And then maybe we should verify these drivers so they don't like kidnap these women. So it's like they do all this stuff and then they backtrack. Oops, we didn't think. We didn't ask the most vulnerable people. We didn't ask parents. We didn't ask women. We didn't ask anyone from the LGBTQ plus community. We didn't ask Black, Indigenous, or other people of color. We didn't ask anyone with disabilities. We didn't ask anybody else for their input, because rich white men know everything, so they should just write everything, including AI. No, thank you. But look at this. It's an unbiased tool to aid police with limited resources identify and protect women at risk from being assaulted again. The technology was meant to create efficiencies. I don't want them to be efficient. I want them to be thorough. I don't want this fast. I want them to take their time to help police prioritize the most urgent cases while focusing less on those calculated by algorithms at low risk. But when you see all the ones they said were low risk, you're going to be like, wow, this thing seems to be terrible at its job. Why are they trusting this thing? So victims classified with a higher risk of protection or get, regular patrols by their home, access to shelters, police monitoring, their abusive moments. With lower scores, get less support. And again, I guarantee you the people that are giving low scores to probably need all of that support. And then so the Interior Minister was defending it, and it's like, we're the first to carry out self-criticism when mistakes occur. Yeah, sure. I just wrote blah over this because I don't even think you should bother reading it. It's all blah, 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 blah. Incontestable count, blah, 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 blah. If it weren't for this amazing app, we would have more homicides. Shut up. Stop talking. Yet victims and their families are grappling with the consequences when it gets it wrong. Technology is fine, but sometimes it's not, and then it's fatal. The computer has no heart. Exactly. The computer has no lived experiences of women because it's usually written by men with very limited experiences and less empathy, and who are also probably doing this crap themselves. They're like, whatever. And when they write the questions, they're probably like, yeah, do they have a weapon? Because my fist can't possibly be a weapon. Or broken glass isn't technically a weapon. Like, oh my God. Effective but not perfect, you silly drama queens. Shut your mouth. So this whole thing started with the question, can police predict an assault before it happens? After Spain passed a law in 2024 to address violence against women, the government assessed experts and statistics, and their goal was to create a statistical model to identify women most at risk for abuse and to outline a standardized response to protect them. Yeah, you really care about protecting women. Being efficient is what you want, and cheap. They took a similar approach to how insurance companies and banks predict the likelihood of future events, such as house fires and currents. Oh my God. They were like, well, substance abuse and jobs loss and economic uncertainty, contribute to DV, so let's just focus on that rather than, I don't know, personal history, lived experiences, things that you can't measure. Then they came up with this questionnaire for victims so the answers can be compared to historical data. Maybe your historical data is wrong because who's collecting the data? Who's asking the questions? Who's collecting the data? Who's reading the data? You can have one scientist read something and another scientist read something and they come up with completely different conclusions based on their own bias. Police would fill in the answers after interviewing a victim, reviewing documentary, speaking with witnesses, and studying the information, blah, 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 blah. Answers to certain questions carried more weight than others, like if an abuser displayed tendency or showed signs of jealousy. Tell me one abuser who hasn't done that. Also, they also don't... If I had gone to them and done this little quiz knowing what I know now, my answers would look very different if Melanie, who was in an abusive relationship, answered those questions. I wouldn't know that a lot of things were signs of jealousy, coercive control. I wouldn't know necessarily, I wouldn't qualify something as a side threat necessarily. Like, I would not, because of my own lack of education around this stuff. And also because of my upbringing and just gaslighting myself. You don't think the women going in there aren't gaslighting themselves and being like, if it's a yes or no question, is he jealous? Well, yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't say 100% of the time, so no. You know what I mean? Like, we already minimize our pain. We already protect men at all costs, even over our own safety. We've been conditioned to minimize what's happening to us, especially if it means a man is going to be in trouble or something usually. So what makes them think that we are even answering honestly or from an informed place, especially because women going to the police are usually in the middle of trauma. They're disassociated. And if they've been sleep deprived, like so many abusers use as a form of abuse to keep you confused, sleep deprivation and all kinds of other things. Do you really think that these questions are like a woman face to face who's been through this experience would know exactly what to ask and would know what follow-up questions to ask and would understand the nuance? They would understand the subtext. They would pay attention to body language when asking these things. And they'd be like, well, okay, you're saying no about this, but how about la la la? And then they'd be like, oh yeah, well, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I guess he did try to choke me one time. Forgot about that. Look at one of these questionnaires. Here's some of the questions. In the last 6 months, has there been an escalation of aggression? Yeah, okay. So they may be like, well, I mean, it's not really that much. I'm telling you, we do not even know how bad it was until after we've left. When we think back, in that moment, we'd be like, well, it's probably been like this before. But if we think back, we'd be like, well, actually, I mean, he did buy a pew-pew. Again, you know what I mean? You can't ask a question like this. You have to ask a question with follow-up questions. You have to ask a question. The way you ask questions and what question you ask is so important. This is not a good question, especially anybody who knows survivors and how we are when we're in this disassociated survival mindset. We are really not connected to the truth a lot of times because we are just have brain fog. We are in denial. We are afraid they're going to get in trouble. We still love them, but we are scared. Like, this is going to be messed up. Has he demonstrating different behaviors or substance use? A lot of women don't even realize that these men are addicted. They'd be like, well, I mean, he drinks a lot. And then not even realizing, well, drinking literally every single day is an addictive behavior. You know, when we are in these relationships, one of the reasons why we're in it is because we're constantly minimizing what's happening for our own survival. And our brain tricks us. And we're usually isolated and alone because we've already been kind of either cut off from our friends or just whatever. And so we don't like even our answers are not going to be honest, not in terms of us purposely lying necessarily, but from our own denial. That's why we're in these situations. I mean, among other things, like being financially trapped and just all the other things, right? This one right there. In the last 6 months, has the victim expressed to the aggressor her intention to sever the relationship? What is the point of this? How is AI going to take this question and determine anything from it? Does it also account for the fact that he might be reading her texts? He might have broken into her computer like my ex did? That he may be stalking her and she doesn't know? Like this, oh God, this is making me so angry, y'all. Okay, look, predictive algorithms for DV have been used in parts of Britain, Canada, and Germany and the United States, but not on such a national scale as in Spain. I love that they'll use it anywhere but Catalonia and Basque. They're like, well, these two regions that don't really like being part of Spain, we don't use them there. Basque country is kind of like French Spain, but like not. It's a whole nother thing. Law enforcement initially agreed the algorithm with skepticism, probably because they're like, you're not taking my job. And then they're like, oh wow, cool, like I don't have to do as much work. And I don't have to be accountable. So they first were skeptical the times, but it soon became a part of everyday police business. Look at this. Before this app, dumb app, the investigations were based on the experience of the policeman. Now this is organized and guided by such and such. So the reason why I circled this is these are our two options. A terrifying group of people, usually men, who cover for each other. Or a robot controlled and written by men who cover for each other. Like, these are two options. And this goes, I swear to God, well, we're going to talk about this in a second. But if they would spend less money funding this force and instead put that into resources that actually help people, that fight fight poverty, that substance abuse, that support women, that all of this, instead of just giving, these people should not be the ones helping us, and their little robots that are working for them, that are giving them orders, should also not be the ones. This is our only two options? No, thank you. So again, this dude just oh, but it's amazing. It's a source of impartial information. If a woman attacked late at night was seen by a young police officer with little experience, the dumb app could detect the risk of future violence because the young policeman may just not know what to do. You think that the young, inexperienced policeman is going to be any worse than a seasoned vet who has more power and is backed even more by the blue and is probably beating up his own wife? This is the worst argument ever. As if experience in the force actually makes men who work in it any better at their jobs. If anything, it usually makes them more corrupt and ego-driven. Now, I'm not saying all are bad, but they all enable each other. So they have to. Even the good ones end up participating in this crap, or covering, or just it's the code of silence. And it's the same thing in the military. You do not tell on, you don't rat out your brother. It's more efficient. If I see that word one more time in this, they're like, but it's efficient and it's cheaper, maybe? It's probably not even cheaper, honestly. It's definitely more environmental. Seriously, I did not realize how bad AI is for the environment until I started looking into it more, and wow, as if we need anything else that's going to extract more resources from the earth. Spain's faith in this system surprised some people like this dude. We're not good at forecasting weather, let alone human behavior. I love that line. Exactly. God. But Francisco here, a commander for the military, that's even worse. You add military plus police. Woo! Okay, let's listen to this guy. He said it helps his team prioritize, but requires close oversight. About 20 new cases of gender violence arrive every day, each requiring investigation. I mean, providing the police protection for every victim would be impossible. What do you bitches want? You're asking too much. There's too many of you. Take a seat. Take a number. What is this, like a boulangerie? Oh my God. The system is effective but not perfect. It's the best system that exists in the world today. Now, if women were writing AI, I might trust it more, but I know who's writing this crap. I'm not saying that there aren't any women writing it, but if anybody, people in tech, tell me. Tell me, because I know people who've worked in tech, and wow, it is worse than the outdoor industry, it seems. There's way more inchmales in that region because they're all dorks who watched Revenge of the Nerds too many times and were like, yeah, my day has come. Fork these. So someone else pointed out that outside of big cities, the police often have to choose between addressing violence against women or other crimes. Who do you think they're going to like? That says it all right there. They're like, what do you want us to do? You want us to care about men being able to do what they should be able to do and maybe women getting hurt? Or do you want us to fight real crime? Even the most effective technology cannot make up for a lack of trained experts. So that's this other person saying this. Agents in many provinces are overwhelmed, the union said. Yeah, of course they're overwhelmed. But let's just give them more money. Let's give the police more money, because things like Cop City are a great solution. You know what I mean? Like, whenever we give them more money, this is how they spend it, on AI and Cop City. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It is terrifying. Or they buy like a Hummer, as if we need those in a city. You know what I mean? Like, the militarization of the police is already bad enough. So, but this is in Spain. They're just like, well, we're overwhelmed. We don't have enough money. You will never convince me that this force will ever use any extra money they get on actually helping and protecting people. It's going to get to big old toys for the big little boy who's now a big powerful man. He wants a big old poo-poo and big tires and a monster truck to drive around it. So then they go into a few more stories. I'm going to hopefully wrap this up soon, y'all, because this is too much. So this one woman, 26-year-old, she went to the police after her husband in the face and her. He threw objects at her, including a kitchen ladle that hit her kid, a 3-year-old. After police interviewed her for about 5 hours, that sounds efficient. They did all this, and then they're like, tap, 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 let's let the AI decide. They determined it was a negligible risk of being abused again. Unbelievable. The next day, she had this woman who had a swollen black eye went to court for a restraining order against her husband. Judges can serve a check on this system of this dumb app, right? Like I said before, with the ability to intervene in cases that provide protective measures, right? So the police are allowed to override it with their judgment, and so are the judges. And just like the police, the judge was like, no. The judge denied her restraining order, citing the dumb app score and her husband's lack of a criminal record, because, you know, he's a nice guy. He's an upstanding citizen. I'm sure he's not doing anything at home. She's probably exaggerating, because we know how to be lying. Look at this woman. Lost her life because of an app written by men that thought they understood something like this enough to, oh God. So after they refused to give her a restraining order, she was multiple times in the heart in front of their children. Luckily, in 2020, her family won a verdict against the state for failing to adequately measure the level of risk and provide. So I'm glad that at least they have. Here's a little bit of hope. You can sue them. I hope more families sue them. Although that alone is probably re-traumatizing. Not probably, it is. I'm surprised they won, but good for them. So here's another case of Eve, slain by her former boyfriend after being classified as low risk by this app. But he also took out their 11-month-old daughter. 6 weeks earlier, he had jabbed a knife in the couch cushion next to her and said, look how well it sticks. And the police were like, yeah, but he didn't do anything. He was just like, look at my life. Oh my God, this is so frustrating, y'all. In 2007, 247 of the 900 women unalived in Spain by a current reform heart were previously scored by the dumb app. The other victims had not previously reported to the police, so were not even in the system. Okay, let's look at that one more time. So 247 women died at the hands of men, their partners. 990, almost 1,000 women died, but only 247 were brave enough to go to the police. And most of them were called low risk. So then they died. But the fact that so many of them, like over 2/3 of them, didn't go to the police at all, and they died. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if they are going to the police, it's bad. The fact that they are calling any of these low risk, but these women are actually have the courage to go. Women usually go to the police when it's almost too late. It's so bad by the time they go. And they're giving most of them low risk. They're not going to do it again. So the Interior Ministry was like, okay, look, I know the stats don't look that great in our favor, but it doesn't provide an accurate picture of the dumb app's effectiveness because some happened more than a year after, while others were committed by a different partner. So why does this thing incorrectly classify these women? One reason may be the poor quality of information fed into the system. So this dumb app is ideally suited for a case when a woman in the moments after being attacked can provide complete information to an experienced officer who has time to fully investigate the incident. But that does not always happen, because why? Shocker. This is like a duh for most women. Fear, shame, economic dependency, immigration status. So I tell y'all, please do not move for the men, because so many... You have no idea how much moving to another country for men is for a man is automatically going to make you so I don't know what the stats are. So much more likely to fall into domestic violence. Not fall into, I hate the way I just phrased that, but you know what I'm saying. And other factors can lead a victim to withhold information. Exactly. When I went to the police, and I went twice, both times, the second time, because I was on my way out of town and had nothing to lose, I said a lot more. But I still forgot a lot of stuff. But that first time I was treading lightly, and they responded so terribly and so awful to me that I backtracked and said I lied. And I wasn't financially dependent on this man. I wasn't married to him. I didn't have children with him. And I was about to leave the state. I was in, if you have to win the domestic violence bingo in terms of being the best situation to get out, other than having like a ton of money, that I was, I had a supportive community. I didn't have, did not have the factors that so many women have when they're stuck in these situations. And even I was like, well, I mean, do you think any woman's gonna be like, you did this and this and this and this? No. So again, this is what I'm saying. You can't even trust how the victim is going to explain the story. She probably needs to be there with someone else who's going to be like, don't tell them about this and this. But you also aren't going to necessarily trust the police, especially if they come from a community that has been terrorized by the police their whole lives. But let's just say that's not even a factor, which it often is. It's usually a man. And it's usually a man who doesn't know what he's doing, or he's shamey, or he's a jerk, or he just doesn't care because he's already doing that to his wife, so he really doesn't care about this dumb bitch reporting hers. So there's already so much human error because of the way the police were doing it. And then they're doing it this worse, somehow worse. This is somehow worse than what they were already doing. I didn't think it could get worse. It can get worse. There's also... police are often squeezed for time and may not fully investigate, or they just may not care because, I don't know, robbing someone's house seems like a bigger deal than someone robbing her soul. That's what it feels like. Someone takes a part of your soul when this happens. But whatever, silly women, they ask for it, whatever. If we already enter erroneous information into the system, how can we expect the system to give us a good result? Exactly. The information is not going to be thorough, and then the system is also not good. So then they're like, but this is the best thing ever we invented. So Elizabeth, a victim who now works as a gender violence lawyer, she want to be anonymous mostly for this, because she's still afraid of her former partner, and his retaliation. But she talks about how she's from a village in southern Spain. She was labeled low risk after attacks from her partner because she was afraid and ashamed to provide complete information to the police, some of whom she knew personally, which means her partner, also knew. She got her risk scored increased to extreme only after working with a lawyer specializing in gender violence cases, leading to around-the-clock police protection. Exactly. It wasn't until she had someone else come in, and because we need an advocate. We need somebody who is going to fight for us, because we are not at our best when we're reporting this stuff. When I went that second time, I brought Annie, the woman, my friend, who flew all the way in from Alaska to get me out of the state of New Mexico. And I said, she is the only reason why I was able to go back. And then she stayed in there and filled in all the blanks that I forgot. I forgot so much. And she was like, oh, he was also stalking her while she was on vacation by making her download a tracking device. And I was like, oh yeah, forgot about that. We women keep a lot of things silent, not because we want to lie, but out of fear. This dumb app would be good if there were qualified people who had all the necessary tools to carry it out. Exactly. Victim groups said that psychologists or other trained specialists should lead the questioning of victims. Exactly. Not the police. Some have urged the government to mandate that victims be allowed to be accompanied by someone they trust to help ensure full information is given to authorities. Sometimes that is not now allowed in all areas. Okay, they don't even allow it? What? It's not easy to report to a person this right here. It's not easy to report a person you've loved. Exactly. Reporting rape or something else by somebody that you didn't know or whatever, any crime by somebody you didn't know is a very different experience than reporting someone that you loved and probably currently still love, even though it's not really love, y'all. It's something else. It feels like love, but that's not love. You loved them and poured into them, but that wasn't, I've talked about this before. It's codependency, trauma stuff, limerence, all kinds of things. Please don't think that you just really love that person. Please call it something else, because it wasn't love. You tried your best, but they didn't love you and you didn't love them, because you can't love somebody. You can't love somebody who is keeping you hostage. You can't love someone who is raping you. You can't love somebody who's exploiting you. What you're doing is something else, but that's not love. And same thing, a man who is exploiting me or abusing me or anything, you can't love someone you are actively exploiting. You just can't. That's not love. That's not love. If the system succeeds, it's the success of the system. If it fails, it's the human error, that they aren't monitoring properly, said this person. A better approach, she said, was for people to say what their decision is before seeing what AI thinks. Oh, there we go. There's another one. Yeah. Why don't you figure out, why don't you get in touch with your intuition, even though I don't even trust the police officer who are interviewing them. So again, I think it should be therapists, psychologists, and like trained professionals who are giving this test. But they shouldn't be able to see the results. They should determine what they are and then see what it says. Because this thing is clearly informing them, because 95% of the time, they're relying on the test. Well, the system will never be perfect. But neither is human judgment. Whatever we do will always fail. It's an unsolvable... Oh, shut up. I swear, there's so many solutions to make it better. And they're like, well, it's not perfect. And y'all are expecting too much. So just go away. Go on. Go on your merry little way. Go play with your little friends. This month, the Spanish government called an emergency meeting after 3 women were unalived by former partners within a 24-hour span. Now, in the U.S., that number may not be much. But in Spain, much smaller country, much smaller population, 3 in 24 hours. And this goes back to the immigration thing. One woman was unalived. She married at 17 after starting dating someone when she was 14 who's 10 years older than her. They moved to Spain so they could pursue work. She was always cheerful. Yeah, don't assume that women who are just are not having nightmares at home that they live with. Friends said she never called the police or reported her husband before the January 2022 incident that unalived her. This stupid app is intended to identify dangerous signs that humans may overlook, but in her case, it appears that the police missed some cues. What might those be? Her neighbors told the police that they were not interviewed. The neighbors know more than almost anybody because they hear this stuff, right? Nor were the administration at the children's school, who said they had seen signs of trouble, so everybody knew. But the AI didn't assess the danger well. Shocker. Oh my God, it didn't do its job well. This dude also had a life-threatening form of cancer. I told you when men get sick, they get worse. They get more violent. You can't leave because they'll leave you if you get cancer, but you can't leave them. That made him behave erratically. This is the same dude that, dated her when she was 14 and he was an adult. Many blame the underlying discrimination in Spain's criminal system that overlooks the violence against immigrant women, especially Muslims. So that's a whole other nuance that's added to this, because I'm not going to speak on it enough because I don't know enough. But immigrant women around the world in general are so much more vulnerable. They're not taken care of. They're not protected. They're not believed. And they're dependent on immigration status and visa stuff and money and all kinds of things. I'm telling you. And do not think that it's only women from backgrounds that are traditionally more discriminated against. Like I've said before, you join any of these expat groups, any of these immigrant expat groups, married to, there's like, grumpy, what's it called? There's one that's about all of like, it's called like Grumpy Women Abroad or something like that. It is full of DV of women who are living in other countries with their husbands, and it's scary. You can have all the privilege in the world, able-bodied, white privilege, money, all kinds of stuff. You move to another country, the Hague Convention. You probably have seen, I've talked about this a lot. The Hague Convention, look it up. You're stuck. You cannot buy your way out of it. The Hague Convention, if you have children, you are stuck. Also, when they looked at this one case, she was tired during the question and wanted to end the interview to go home. I mean, I'm just assuming that she was tired from being abused and questioning and everything else. But how much you want to bet that as a Muslim woman at the Spanish police, she is being treated very differently than I would be treated as an immigrant woman at the Spanish police, for instance. Like, if she's tired, probably a lot of reasons for that. Like, I'm just telling you, as a white woman with an American passport, the stuff people say to me, the way I'm treated is crazy sometimes. Even this morning, some dude was like, because I didn't understand what he said in French. Some man came up and tried to speak to me in French. And then I was like, but partly I said I don't understand because I didn't want to talk to this person. But now that's not even a get out of jail free card or whatever. I hate that term. Because then he insulted me because I couldn't understand him. Well, you're speaking English. So if they say that stuff to me, wearing my pretty little dress, a white woman, I cannot imagine what immigrant women with less privilege than me, how they are treated by society here in general, and especially departments like this. I bet there's a lot of reasons why she was tired, and it wasn't just her abusive husband. A few days after the 2022 attack, she won a restraining order against her husband, but it was largely ignored. The family and friends said he moved to an apartment less than 500 meters from her and continued to threaten her. Her brother-in-law said that he appealed to her assigned public lawyer for help, but was told the police won't do anything. It's a low-risk score. The day after she was to death, she had her court date scheduled to officially file divorce. She's supposed to get divorced from this man the day after she died. Y'all, there's a lot of reasons why I really can't stand AI. Besides it destroying the careers of most of my friends, and maybe not destroying, but making it almost impossible to pay bills or constantly having to reassess and refigure this thing out of me and most of my friends who are creatives for a living. AI is destroying that. That alone made me kind of hate it. But the way it is taking everyone's careers away on some level and not making life easier, and it's destroying the environment and is literally getting people unalived. Terminator 2, seriously. Anyway, thank you for listening to this. This was kind of a hard one. Let me know your thoughts. Follow my Patreon if you haven't already so you get notifications when I post, because the algorithm may not tell you that I exist. And let me know if you hear the comment song. I'll try to make one, but it may not be as funny. I don't know. We'll see. Et voila. Welcome to the comment song. Greece vacation reflection version. We're gonna walk through this tiny little tunnel that I found on the island. The comment song is for writing stories or comments that you want to say and gives you a little bit of time. But I think I'm kind of defeating the purpose by giving you stuff to look at instead of writing your comments. Oh my God, the comment song. I can't help myself but give you some pretty stuff to look at during the comment song. By the way, everyone is comes out eventually. I don't know where they are right now. That's the little bus station pizza place we took our nieces for. Babysitting, this was a tree that fell down because of the wind while we were eating dinner, and they just fixed the problem there. Oh my God, the comment song is so pointless because you're not probably writing a comment because you're watching pretty stuff. Okay, I'm gonna just keep talking so you can write stuff. They eventually got that branch down. Yeah, they climbed a tree during dinner. The comment song. Please don't be too distracted from writing something funny. Well, not funny. This is not a funny video. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add something. This is a really disturbing video to make. I'm sorry. That's 2 days in a row. I'm gonna sing a little bit more and give you a couple more minutes to wrap it up. The comment song, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. Here we go. Comment song is ending now. Are you done? I hope so.